preparing for the second wave of teenage?
Yeah, so what that basically means is that all adults were teenagers at some point. So even if you're a parent, if you're 60 years old, you were once a teenager. So if you now have a child who's going through teenage, you are experiencing teenage for the second time. This is like the second wave, because you live with this child who's a teenager, the emotions, what they're going through and all that, you're also going to experience them. The emotions, the vibes, they'll rub off on you. So you're experiencing it for the second time. And what I think is the best thing to do is to start by just reflecting on your own teenage experience and reflecting on it in an objective way, not the typical positive one-sided look that parents normally have, where everything that happened to them during teenage or everything that they did was positive. You know, a parent could be telling a child about how they started drinking maybe in Form 2, but they speak it in such a way that they were the cool ones at school. They don't talk about it as a mistake that they made. They don't talk about it as a bad thing that they were doing, but they try and paint it in positive light. So it's important to reflect in an objective way and then see the positives, see the negatives. That will then help you to even parent your own teenager, because you've been a teenager yourself once. So this is what we're doing today. We're just reflecting on our teenage selves. And then, you know, often we talk about preparing for high school, preparing for teenage, and we are focusing on the children. But I think it's important for parents to also prepare for it, because you're going to be living with the child. So you have to prepare for it. And when it comes to preparation, it's better if you do it proactively. You know, I'm reminded of what used to happen. So when I was in primary school, normally after I finished school, my dad would send me kumusha. So we used to have the sekuru that we stayed with kumusha. So what you would do is you would wait for the day you're going back to school. You're going back to Harare. Mese Makamira bus station. Then you get on the bus. Whilst you're on the bus, you would look through the window and then you start shouting, Muzanditengera boots zia nechi. You've been like together all this while. And then you wait for that moment to say that. So, you know, sometimes I feel like that's what we do in life. You had your child who was a preteen for all this while.
How accurate though is this?
And then you want to say everything, like the moment they're now about to go to high school or about to become a teenager, yet you had all the time to actually talk to them, to have conversations with them. So it's always important to be proactive and not to be like my sekuru that I just mentioned. There's some facts that we need to not when it comes to teenagers, but maybe before I go into that, it's also important to deal with your own childhood or teenage traumas as a parent, because you know sometimes you may have experienced something when you're a teenager, and you now, because you haven't dealt with it, you're very emotional about it, you become afraid that maybe this thing would happen to my child. So unknowingly or unconsciously, you now project your fears on your child. So the way you communicate about the concern to the child is very emotional, and the child will not be able to get the message the way you want them to get. So maybe something happened, and then now you are you're trying to help your child avoid that, but because it's something that still has an impact on you, you're still emotional about it, you then start screaming or yelling about it, and then your child doesn't understand, because they don't really know like what happened in your own past. So it's important to deal with your own childhood trauma so that you don't project them on your teenager when you're having conversations with them. And also, you know, I just want you, if you're a parent, to ask yourself this question: how is your communication with your own parents when you were a teenager? Are there things that happened to you that you maybe never shared with your parents, or that your parents never got to find out, good or bad? If there are such things, then the next question would be, why did that happen? And is that the kind of thing that you want to be experiencing with your child? If you don't want to be experiencing that same thing with your child, so what can you change as a parent to ensure that there is open communication between you and your child? So as I had promised earlier, here are some of the facts that we need to be very aware of when it comes to teenage. So if you've got a preteen who's about to become a teenager, you need to understand, number one, that when a child becomes a teenager, peers are going to have more influence in their lives sometimes even more than you. So peers and the media, they're going to be so concerned about what's happening on TikTok, and they want to follow what they're seeing there. They want to please their friends. They want to maintain their cliques. So that said, it's important to teach children how to make the right friends. Because if your child hangs out with the right type of friends, then you are rest assured that even if they are influenced by their friends, they're going to be influenced to do the right thing and not the wrong thing. But if they hang out with the wrong type of friends, then that's going to be trouble for you. So teach them how to make good friends. And it's not something that they will automatically know how to. You actually have to explain to them that, okay, when you're looking for a friend, you're looking for somebody whose values are compatible with yours. So what do you believe? What do they believe? Do you agree? And you also need to...
I guess we also get then only ready to then pounce on them to say, this is not a good friend, leave this friend. Do they know how they're supposed to relate or to make friends, from which foundation? And what are they looking at before they decide to say, now this is, a friend I can open my life to and walk with. Yeah. Normally that's what we do. We wait for that moment where a mistake has been made, and then we lash on the children, and we're expecting them to have made the right decision. But how would they have made that right decision if we had not taught them earlier? And then the other thing, dating pressure. I feel like we don't emphasize this enough. Especially for kids who are coming from primary school and now becoming teenagers and getting into high school. For the first time, there's going to be a lot of people coming after them, whether you're a boy or a girl. Now that you're in a place where everyone is older, a lot of boys are going to be asking you out. And if nobody has told you how to react to that, that can be difficult to manage. How do I even say no? Should I say no? And how do I handle that? Because sometimes it can be overwhelming. Imagine for the first time, or maybe it's not the first time, dating may have started in primary school, but now that it's in high school, you've got from 2s, 3s up to A levels, 6 of them are coming after you. That can be emotionally draining for a child. So how do you deal with that? So we need to have conversations so that your child will know, okay, how do I deal with this when this is coming at me? So already they know that it's going to come, and when it comes, they're not clueless or surprised. And actually, thank you for this show. I think I've been implementing, I've been actually implementing to have the conversation, be it with cousins or, with nephews or nieces to initiate the conversation, to know, okay, what are we working with and why are we saying this? So I hope parents are implementing as well.
Yeah. And you would find that teenagers will be very appreciative of those kind of conversations. Often we think they don't want to talk to us at all. They don't want to open up about those things. But if you use the right approach, they'll actually be willing, and they will be asking questions. It works.
I was having a conversation with my partner's daughter. It actually works, where they can then actually open up to make them understand where you're coming from, and also to understand their thinking, what they think about dating, and why they feel good. Maybe we're saying don't do it. Do they know why? So this actually really helps.
Sometimes you discover this sincere immaturity. You actually see it has to reassure. And then you're there and you're actually helping them. And then the other thing, it's important also to monitor their academic side. Sometimes parents get surprised. It was one a 0C, was one a FC. But you know what? If you've been inspecting and checking out, you would have known. Because these things don't happen by accident.
Imagine from second term when I get straight A's on my B's, and then to just surprise you in a final exam. Where you there?
Because wherever you. So it's important to really make sure that you're checking the books and you're seeing what's happening, and if it's possible to even have a relationship with the teachers. I still don't understand. I know there's certain boarding schools that don't allow communication between children and their parents when they're at home. I really don't understand the rationale. But I'm thinking to myself that teenage period is a very critical phase where you need to build relationships with your parents. And you spend most of that time, if you're a boarder, in boarding school. So if that communication is denied, what it means is that you may never have time to build a relationship with your parents, because the moment you're going to come out of boarding school, when you're in A level, you're going to uni again, and that may be out of the country, so you're never going to have a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's important at that time. And if there are any authorities from boarding schools, maybe I might be wrong, you might have your own good reasons for doing that. But my thinking is, if you have not looked into this, please look into it. It's important to give teenagers and their parents an opportunity to just talk and bond. It doesn't have to be.
I guess they'll be thinking that they're winning them off, and so that they grow to be adults who are fully not too dependent. But then sometimes
still,
it's yeah.
Because you know what, the communication is not really about saying kuchikoro kurugunesa or anything, just communication for the sake of bonding. It's just that communication. Hi, how's it? Okay, what's happening? Things like that. Yeah. So
I think that's an actual era. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think so too. Yeah. And then moving on, we talked about the importance of communication. This can also be fostered through play days. Just having time out with your child where you're doing something that you enjoy. I remember my dad still is a staunch Dynamos supporter. So you would go to games together, and the way you would relate to him, you are home, right? But now you're in a match, you're celebrating a goal together and all that. All those walls, all those barriers are just broken down, they're removed. And then your bond, your relationship is just fostered. So those play dates are very important. And then another thing, teenage is the period of puberty. So it being the period of puberty, your children needs to be equipped. They need to know, okay, these are the changes that are going to be happening in their bodies emotionally, and then you give them information that is compatible with your own values. And for you to be able to do that as a parent, you should also have research and know what's happening. Because when you know what's happening, you've researched, you can then give them up-to-date information. Because sometimes the reason why teenagers may not come to us is sometimes they ask us, and then the things that they ask us, we show them that we're clueless about. So nobody wants to go and ask for advice from a person who's clueless. So just find out, okay, what are the latest TikTok trends. You don't have to be so into them, you don't have to like them, but at least just know. Even song lyrics, sometimes a child could be listening to a song with very dirty lyrics in front of the parents, and the parents don't even know, because so as a parent you're then able to say, no, this is not like a cool song, these are bad lyrics. So you can be able to advise them if you are up to date with what's happening. And then it's also a time when your child is about to be a teenager. It's also a time to help them build a support network, so they will know, okay, there's a cousins that they can go to, there's a teachers they can go to, or maybe a youth pastor, so people like that, so that in your absence, should something happen, then they know, okay, I can easily go to that person.
You're really saving the nation, eh?
And I can, yeah.
Wow, because no one really ever teaches parents this.
Yeah, because as a parent, you're not always going to be available. And even when you're available, certain things are too close to home, such that a child who is emotionally intelligent will know that it's not the best to tell you, because certain issues may be involving you, and they definitely know that you're going to be emotional about it, and not in a bad way. There are things that parents have been told, like a BP, because of what's involved. But then if a child knows, okay, maybe I can go through someone, and then the someone is mature enough to know how to relay the information in a way that will not get things spiral out of proportion. So that can help. And then moving on, ground rules and clear expectations. I think we've mentioned this before, where sometimes a child does something only to be told, you've messed up, yet prior to that they had no clue what they were expected to do or what they were not supposed to do. So if the ground rules are clear, when it comes to this issue, this is what, do you know, there are some children I talk to, they don't even know do they have a curfew? So I don't go to, so a day they will come kumbapa when 6:05. That's when they will get a lashing, and then mom or dad will say, what's okay after? But they didn't know before what was my curfew. what time was I supposed to be home, or what time am I not supposed to be home, things like that. So if you set clear boundaries, clear expectations, kana problem yazoitika, before you even mention it, the child knows, okay, I've done something wrong, and they're even expecting a punishment or a consequence before you even mention it, because it's something that they're fully aware of. So that's important.
We've run out of time. Yeah.